Okay, and okay. Well, as the most important person is here today, Isabel, let's get it started.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Isabel, and I'm a grade 8 student from Bearspaw Christian School. It is my honor today to be the hostess of CNC Talks this evening. First of all, let me introduce you all to the CNC Education Foundation. CNC Education Foundation is an Alberta-registered nonprofit organization sponsored by CNC Educenter Limited and founded by Principal Liu. The Foundation's mission is to foster leadership, fellowship, and mentorship for all students, to enrich and enhance better education for primary through secondary levels of education. It also offers a variety of programs and workshops to support students through the platforms of CNC Talks and the CNC Literacy Club. CNC Education Foundation has helped hundreds of students and parents over the past 3 years. Let me introduce the keynote speakers tonight. Ms. Liu is our principal of CNC Educenter and a director of CNC Education Foundation. She is an Alberta certified teacher who has taught 15 years in China and 18 years in Canada. She has been actively supporting and helping the Chinese community with education and other events for the past 16 years. Another guest speaker is Jack Silvers. Jack Silvers is a first-year at Harvard University student, hoping to concentrate in government and economics. On campus, he is a manager for Harvard Student Agency's Tutoring, an editor for the Harvard Political Review, and a member of the Fellows and Study Groups. He is originally from New York, where he participated in speech and debate, Science Olympiad, and the Trium Honor Music Society at Scarsdale High School. He is an experienced tutor and writer for the Borgen Project, focused on global poverty. Let's welcome Ms. Liu and Jack come to the stage.
Thank you so much, Isabel. That is a beautiful introduction. Thank you very much. And first of all, before I introduce Jack, let me just make an announcement that CNC Education Foundation and CNC Education Educenter are partnerships with Harvard University, Harvard Student Agency. And the person who made this happen is our CNC Education Foundation coordinator, Lucia Liu. She set up this Ivy League program for CNC Educenter. And I just want to take this chance to introduce Lucia, and if Lucia can say hi to everyone so people know your face.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your great contribution to make this happen. Now we're connected with Harvard student agencies. And then now that's why we have Jack. Everybody wants to thank you, Leah. That's why we have Jack sitting here as our honor guest. Okay. So hi, Jack. Thank you for being our guest today at the CNC Talk. And I have several questions for you today, and let's get it started. You know, parents and the students, and we have lots of questions to ask. And the questions that we chose today, it will be very, very valuable. And then I think per question probably will take minutes, so we don't have an hour. Okay, so number one, what would you like to say to our students' parents dreaming of getting admitted into Ivy League colleges? Everybody's dreaming about it.
Yes. Well, first, I'd just like to thank you so much for having me here. Lucia and Leah have been nothing but kind and helpful as we establish this partnership. I'm really happy to be speaking to CNC students today. To respond to your question, if I were speaking to parents of students who are hoping to look at Ivy League schools like Harvard, I would say that although the odds are great, you truly have a lot of control over the process. A lot of times people will say that the college admissions is something like a game of chance. And you can say that that's true to some extent, but there are certainly things that you can do to put yourself in the best position to gain admission to elite universities. So I think that considering holistic admissions and really focusing on strengthening grades, extracurriculars, and then essays are the best way to prepare yourself for hopeful admission. And then I'm sure we'll get into some more of the specifics as we go on today.
Wow, oh, that's beautiful. So how were your grades? Because you are a Harvard student and an excellent student. How was your grades, your SAT marks? Are there subjects that you suggest to take over others? Are there any tips? Can you give others who might be struggling in a certain subject?
Yeah, so I obviously worked very hard in high school, cared a lot about my grades, certainly. And I always tried to take the most advanced classes that my school offered. So in the United States, advanced placement tests, AP tests are seen as important traditionally. My school didn't offer a lot of AP classes until you were a senior in high school. But I always took the highest level of honors that I could. And I took 5 AP classes when I was a senior, right as I was applying to college. As for the standardized testing, I took the SAT over the ACT. I scored a 1580. And I studied mainly just by myself. I used some preparation materials, but I used practice tests from online. And I took the test twice, which I think is what a lot of people do. And they traditionally see their scores improve the second time. So I'd say grades are certainly maybe not necessarily a prerequisite, but certainly something that the vast majority of admitted students into elite universities, vast majority have really good grades. So that's something certainly to focus on if that's one of your goals. I'm happy to speak about any subjects in particular that any students might have questions with. But yeah.
Beautiful. So marks are very important. If you want to go to Ivy schools, you need to work very hard to try your best to get the best marks. And also you took SAT over ACT. Are there any difference, SAT, ACT, or just one of them is okay?
Yeah, there are definitely differences. I think some people cater better to the SAT. Some people find the ACT easier. From my perspective, I took a diagnostic test of each one. I took a practice SAT, and then I took a practice ACT. I scored pretty similarly between the two, but I thought that I had more potential to improve on the SAT. And a lot of universities in the US in recent years have gone test optional, but that is not the same thing as saying that standardized testing doesn't matter. It's still certainly an advantage to have good standardized testing scores, whether that's SAT or ACT. I don't think it matters which one you pick, as long as you study hard and do the best that you can on whichever one you choose.
Great. I just heard you said you took 2 times SAT, and some people say, well, sometimes you can get lucky, right? You can get a better marks, so you should try more SATs. Is the more the better, or all the marks in the system, the admission official can see the essay streamers, oh, you took 10 times, you pick up the best one, right? That's too many, that's lucky. You're here, just right for luck. What do you think?
Yeah, I would hesitate to say that more is better. I think that the ideal number of times to take the test is between two and 3 times. I don't think that when you're applying the college and universities that you apply to will necessarily hold it against you to take the test multiple times. However, in my experience, people that take the test more than 3 or 4 times are unlikely to see their scores continue to improve. Most people will plateau after their 2nd or 3rd time. Because if you take it twice, you can learn from your first test, you can study more on areas that you had trouble with. There's an option to receive the questions that you got wrong. I think it's called QAS for the SAT. So you could certainly improve the 2nd time you take, maybe the 3rd time. I'm not sure that more times than that will usually yield higher scores. So not always more is better, but yeah, I'd say 2 or 3 times probably ideal.
Okay, all right, thank you, Jack. That's very important for our high school students getting ready for your SAT. So everyone cares about, because all the excellent students want to go to Ivy school and everyone has good marks. And so then we also plan to work on extracurriculars. So what kind of extracurricular were you involved in high school? Is it important to pick something that not everyone is involved in? Or should you try to excel in something that many people are involved in? Or does it matter?
Yeah, great question. I don't think it necessarily needs to be something different than everyone else does or something similar to what everyone else does. I think what's really most important is excellence in whatever you do choose. So I think a common dilemma that students face is whether to do lots of activities and kind of have a shallow commitment to each one, trying to achieve something, along the lines of being well-rounded, or to focus on 1 or 2 activities and really become very proficient in those. I would certainly lean more towards the second option. I think that if there are 2 or 3, maybe 4 activities outside of school that you really like and you really enjoy, you should devote as much time as you can to those activities. In my case, I really enjoyed doing a speech and debate team in my high school. So I spent a lot of time trying to improve my craft in that area. I did a couple science activities. I was interested in neuroscience, so I pursued those. And I played the piano in a few different organizations outside of school. So I think it's truly different. When you get to college, you'll meet people who do lots of different activities at the high school level. But everyone, I think, needs to find their niche, something that they enjoy and are skilled at, and really try to rise as high as you can in that activity or activities.
All right, so in terms of choosing activities, Jack, like an extracurricular, so do you think you choose the one mainly focusing on academics? So some kids go to computer contest, some go to math contest, or you think demonstrate your leadership, lots of volunteering and debating, public speaking is also part of leadership skills as well. So does it matter, or it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't necessarily matter if all of your activities are explicitly academic in focus. I think that volunteering is a really fantastic thing to have on your application. It's valuable to say that you've contributed to a worthwhile cause, given back to your community, raise money for a worthy cause. I think that shows certain character traits that colleges are very interested in, like integrity, dedication to public service, leadership, those kind of things. I also think that extracurriculars are a good way to figure out exactly what you might want to do in college and after college. So in many cases, doing academic activities or doing extracurricular activities in high school rather, will kind of point you in a certain direction. You could learn that you really love science and you really want to study science in college. or you might learn that you want to be a leader in some capacity. So I don't think you need to aim for one particular type of activity necessarily, but it should be something that you truly enjoy, not necessarily something that you want to do just for college applications.
Beautiful. So I heard volunteering. Besides academic excellence, volunteering is very important. Okay, if we want to be a leader, we need to always remember to return to the community, do something for people around you, for your community. All right, so this is a big question. Number 4 is even more important. Could you tell us a bit more about the entire application process, like how the application goes and your admission essay? That's people very concerned about it. And maybe, touch on interview process. That'd be great. 3 things.
Sure, yeah. I can walk through kind of how my application process proceeded, which could be similar to a lot of you when you end up applying. Look slightly different, depending on where you want to go. But in the US, a major way to apply to colleges is the common application. And it's true in a lot of international areas too. So as part of the common application, it's a platform that allows you to list activities that you did in high school. It also asks you to write an essay, a personal statement, usually called the Common App essay is what most people refer to it as. And it's a maximum of 650 words. And that Common App you can submit in the early round of admissions in the fall, or in the regular round of admissions closer to the winter. But if you use the Common App, it's kind of your main point of contact with colleges that you're applying to for the majority of schools. Most schools in the US use the Common Application. So when it comes to my essay in particular, it's very open-ended what you write about. There are prompts that the Common App provides, but most people choose to write an essay of their own choice. They pick their own topic. They just want to write about something that shows their personality, shows the college admissions board something that the rest of the application hasn't necessarily demonstrated yet. So for my application essay, I wrote about a few different activities that I did in high school, all kind of centered around the theme of personal development and challenging myself. So I knew that I wanted to show the colleges that I was applying to that I put myself in uncomfortable situations deliberately in order to grow as a person and as a student. So I told a few short stories in my essay that I thought demonstrated that. I also had to write various shorter essays called supplements for different specific schools, but that was the topic of my personal statement. I think lots of people have different approaches to it. As long as you show something interesting and surprising about yourself, I think that's the best route to success.
So when you apply to different schools, let's say you applied 6 different schools, you need 6 different essays, or one particular copy paste for another one?
Yeah, so the personal statement, so the 600 word or 650 word personal statement that you can write for the Common Application, you can submit that to every school that you apply to. If you are applying to 6 separate schools, you might have to write 6 more essays, one for each school, depending on the individual school. Most schools in the United States have at least one supplement essay, which might be, why do you want to attend this school? That's kind of the most common, I'd say. But there can also be various other questions. I wrote supplement essays about a topic that fascinated me. I wrote supplement essays about what clubs I would want to be involved in at certain schools that I was applying to. Different prompts that are kind of more specific to each individual school. So the number of essays that you end up writing total varies a lot depending on your college list. But yeah, there's usually separate essays for each school that you apply to.
Beautiful. So that's more respectful, I think, if you apply for different schools, you probably go to different, major, and you want to demonstrate different your strengths, right? So that makes sense. You can just copy paste. That's what I heard. Just do one school, every school for the same essay writing, and I don't think it's that easy. Okay, so I heard one thing you mentioned about how you let yourself grow, like before you go to interview process. So when you go to every top universities, a big chance they will interview you, every school for sure. And when you go through interview, I mean, everyone will be feeling nervous. What about, if my performance is not good enough, then Mr. Fisher doesn't like me, even though you get excellent marks and excellent extracurricular, you might not get in, right? Because the way you present yourself with confidence, with intelligence, and with wisdom, and can be recognized right away. So the interview process is so important. And you mentioned one thing, you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and to train yourself to adapt to this uncomfortable situation to make yourself grow. That's amazing. That's amazing, because some people, I mean, a lot of people don't feel they want to do something that they don't feel comfortable, right? And they only do something that they feel comfortable. However, you have to go through interview process. You have to present. So presenting skills and performance and your idea in a logical, order. I think that will be very impressive, to admission officer. So this actually the three important key components, application process, admission essay, interview process, really is a big thing for grade 12 students to get ready. And I hope students today, if we have grade 11 and grade 12, I know we have some grade 11, grade 12 students coming in. They are really need to get ready ahead of time. All right, so with so many, I mean, every school, we all know they open to the whole world, right? So everyone can apply from the worldwide. How could you, make yourself stand out, like you're different than others? You make the admission officials feel, okay, Jack, you're going to be successful student in Harvard. You're going to do great contribution to the world and make a change to the world. And how can you make yourself different?
Yeah, it's a really important question, especially with the last couple of years. There's been more applications to universities like Harvard and other very selective American universities than has ever been before. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can differentiate yourself. The essay is a great opportunity because the essay is one of the only open-ended parts of the application process, one of the only parts that you have total leeway to really take it in any direction that you want. So I think the essay is a place to show your personality. If you're someone who's funny, can make your essay funny, you can bring out humor and also use it as a narrative to show parts of your personality. So I think that's definitely one way to differentiate yourself from other applicants. I also think that something I realized over the past couple of years, this isn't something that I did so much in high school, but a lot of the people that I've met at Harvard, they did this kind of thing in high school is, identify a problem in your local community or your broader community even, and do whatever you can to solve that problem. So for some people that might be starting a nonprofit or a new club at their high school focused on educational disparities, for example. It was something that was kind of spotlighted by COVID, the digital divide of people who had access to online school and those who didn't. I've met people here that were really focused on that problem at the beginning of the pandemic. They started organizations to try to reduce that problem in their communities. So I think never doubting what you're able to accomplish, even at a young age, to improve society can go a long way to proving that you're a unique applicant.
Wow. This is very important for every single one who is in this Zoom meeting, either you're a student or parents. So make yourself stand out. The goal is you plan at the younger age. You don't wait till grade 11, grade 12 to make yourself stand out. So this come to education field. We all say that, a good habit, great heart, responsibility, confidence, all kinds of skills are really trained, since you were young, right? So the other thing is you mentioned about your essay. So when admission officer is reading your essay, I'm a high school English teacher. Among all the essays, every time I mark, I say, oh, I like this one. So how can we stand out? So you have to make sure your essay is very unique, genuine, and interesting and meaningful. So one story that I heard, I care about Chinese students for sure. So one student actually in China and in a rural area in the province, and what he has beautiful, excellent marks and everything. So what made him stand out, and we all surprised he got enrolled into Harvard, is it started from junior high. He organized a club that donate all the books and the stationery utensils, stuff, clothing to the countryside, like, in the village, and the kids don't have books to read. And this club will grow bigger and bigger, and they actually ship all the, secondhand books by train. And it's very touching. And I think this is demonstrating the student, even he started thinking about the vulnerable community, the poor area, the developing area that need help, need support. That is things that we take it for granted in the city, that the countryside kids, they don't have those. So I think this is so important for our student to stand out. The interview process is even more important, because when you see, the admission officer face to face, they want to make sure that you're confident, right? Presenting skills. That's another opportunity for you to differentiate yourself from others. No matter what, you just need to be excellent. Try to be the excellent yourself. That's so important. So, congratulations, you made into Harvard University. And now, as a first-year student, you are the partnership manager of the Harvard Student Agency. You are enrolled in so many groups and clubs, and as I read your profile, you're the leader. So how do you maintain the balanced life with so many clubs and keeping yourself in academic well and sleep and social life? Some young people could think, oh, I finally got enrolled into university, I'm done. You know what I mean? But you keep yourself busy and keep doing as much contribution as you can to make difference to the community. Could you tell us how are you balancing everything?
Yeah, you mentioned, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, sleeping enough. I saw there was one question in the chat about my New Year's resolutions. One of them is definitely to sleep more, to exercise more. So it's always a work in progress, certainly. But I think really time management is extremely important when you're in college, especially because so much of your time is unstructured. I think the biggest part of the transition from high school to college is learning what to do with all the time that you're not in class. It's a huge opportunity. You have so much more time to spend on clubs, more time to spend with friends, more time to spend on research and all these other possible activities. But planning, being very deliberate is key. So something that I use and a lot of Harvard students use pretty fastidiously is Google Calendar. We schedule our days pretty closely. We put our classes on there, we put our club meetings, we put all our different work obligations and activities. and it kind of makes sure that you're accomplishing everything that you need to during the day. But it's of course, it's really important to take breaks, to give yourself time off. I think I try to reduce my work hours over the weekend and kind of decompress as much as I can. But yeah, being deliberate with your time, making a plan for the week, beginning of the week, I think is the best way to seize the time as best you can.
So I think that's a little bit personal, if you don't mind. I wonder how many hours you can sleep during the, weekdays.
Yeah, I do my best to get 6 to 8 hours a night. I think that most Harvard students, get there somewhere in that area. During exam season, things can get very busy, and you might spend more time in the library than you plan. But yeah, that's always my goal. Sometimes I fall short, but I don't have classes on Fridays this semester, so I get to sleep in.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So Friday is sleep day. So I got a message from a university student today and telling me that he could not get everything done till like 1 or 2 o'clock, and that's most kids in Western University in Canada. It's exactly what I told him before he went to university. It's just super, busy, overwhelming, and because our public high school really are not setting up ready, because the workload in high school cannot compare with university, right? So, okay, so thank you so much. I just want to say one more time for our students or parents can ask some questions before we move to Q&A. As you are the partnership manager for Harvard Student Agency, do you mind just to introduce, I would say, mainly 3 programs that we cooperate with about, tutoring one-on-one, Crimson coaching. What's Crimson coaching? It sounds like new to everyone here, and mentor club. Those 3 programs are, very attractive to our students.
Yeah, certainly. So just to give a brief background on HSA as an organization, HSA is Harvard Student Agencies. It's a totally student-run nonprofit that's main goal is to provide employment and learning opportunities for Harvard students. So all of our managers and all of our hourly employees are current undergraduates. It was a company that was founded in the 1950s. It started off doing laundry services for other students, and then it's grown to incorporate so much more. So as you mentioned, I'm the partnerships manager for HSA Tutoring, and those 3 programs that you mentioned are really some of our core offerings. As you said, we do private tutoring. So we match individual Harvard students to students in need of help in all different academic areas. We do lots of tutoring in math, calculus, algebra, geometry. We do sciences. We do AP subjects. We do IB subjects, and we do standardized testing, of course. So private tutoring is definitely one of our core offerings, and we have lots of very enthusiastic tutors interested in very different areas. You also mentioned Crimson coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So Crimson coaching is our college prep service. So it's also typically done one-on-one. We'll match a Harvard undergraduate mentor with a student, usually in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. I know the grades work a little bit differently in Canadian schools, but students that are thinking about their application process. And Crimson coaching is a way for those students to receive instruction on everything from their extracurriculars to their college essays themselves, to their standardized testing potentially, and to generally crafting the application that they present to colleges. So it's really meant to be a extended relationship that can start 1 to 2 years before the actual application goes in, and at the end, we get to celebrate when you're accepted. So Crimson coaching is one of our most popular offerings because all of our instructors have firsthand experience gaining admission to a very selective university. And you also mentioned Mentor Club. So Mentor Club is another program where we see really close relationships develop between mentors and students. Mentor Club is one of our most flexible programs because students can really receive instruction on any area that they want, whether that's classes themselves, whether that's extracurricular activities, whether it's a new organization that they're trying to start and they want help from a Harvard student who might have experience in that area. It's extremely open-ended. And one of the strengths of our tutor pools is that we don't only have tutors who major in economics or computer science or political science. We have tutors of all different fields. So Mentor Club is one of the newer programs that we have. So we're very excited to see it blossom.
Beautiful. So Mentor Club is something that I think I have parents ask. They're very interested, and the students like to kind of hang out with excellent role models. So in our high school, mentorship is one of the skills we are catering for our high school students. I can tell that with the excellent role models, we call it big brothers, right? So coming here to share what they have gone through, their experience, and particular with each person's strengths, right? So I'm glad to hear you're so flexible. It can be helping this group how to build the nonprofit organization. It can be topic of computer science as major. It can be a topic about how to work on your leadership skills. That's amazing. That's just the things students love to hear from big brothers. Amazing. And we have 20 minutes. We'll give 20 minutes to Q&A. So we just want to meet the parents and student needs. And if they have individual questions, let's get the question started.
Yeah, I did see, I received one direct message with a couple questions that I can address. There was a question about how many hours a day I spent practicing piano during high school and at what level. I was extremely passionate about piano when I was younger in middle school and continued to play in high school. I think I practiced 2 hours a day, probably through middle school, and 1 hour a day in high school as it gets harder to balance different activities. But I really enjoyed it. I wasn't too involved in the competition scene, but I played at recitals. I played on classical repertoire and then also some jazz. And there was also a question about what my major is at Harvard. I'm planning to major in government, which is political science here at Harvard, with potentially a minor in economics.
All right, so I think you can see one question that is written in English. I have to translate a couple questions that is written in Chinese. Yeah, one thing I would like to remind CNC support staff, if you could put your WeChat ID here, so if people wanted to connect with us, with our organization, that'd be great. And Chen, if you're there, and your WeChat ID. Okay. I'm going to translate. So people ask, what is your major, or what will be your major?
Yeah, so I haven't officially declared my major yet. We call it concentration technically here, same thing, major. I'll officially declare the start of my sophomore year next year. So my plan right now is to concentrate in government with potentially a focus in international relations. But I'm also interested in economics. So I'm thinking about potentially a minor in economics. And I'm interested in neuroscience as well. So I'm exploring ways that I can incorporate neuroscience classes into my schedule.
So your university or other universities, they all work differently. Like you don't have to choose a major for the first year or second year. So you can just work on generals.
Yeah, you don't have to officially choose your major until the fall semester of your sophomore year. But even after that point, there's still flexibility. Lots of people change their majors after they declare it. They choose to go into a different path, maybe later in their sophomore year, their junior year. But yeah, I'm still very much exploring the different pathways, while at the same time knowing what I think I want to major in. Yeah.
Okay, so right now all the courses you're taking are generals. Do all the general courses that you're taking will make a decision that what other field major you're going to according to the requirement?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking courses in a few different areas right now. I took one course in the government department in the fall. I'm in another one within the government department currently. I've taken a few other courses geared towards freshmen that fulfill certain requirements under the general education requirement at the college. So yeah, I'm taking courses right now that will count towards my major once I declare my major next year. They're also helping me confirm and decide that I want to be in government. So yeah, the classes I've taken so far have been great.
Beautiful. So although you're taking general courses now, but you have kind of major field, you're narrowing down, so you have a little, a room to be flexible. But doesn't mean you can choose whatever courses that is not going to apply to the major you want to. I guess you're going to waste the time, right? So you can't just graduate for that particular requirement. I also have next question written in Chinese here. So when you apply, I know in US grade 9 is considered a high school. Grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, 12. So 4 years high school. So when you apply to Ivy League or whatever top university in US, do they just look at the grades in grade 12 or the entire 4 years?
They look at all 4 years of high school. There are some colleges or universities that say that they might discount the grades from grade 9 into the first year of high school, since that's a period of transition. Lots of kids improve in their grades as high school goes on. But yeah, Harvard, for example, and other selective universities look at your entire high school transcript. So all high school level classes that you've taken over those 4 years.
Beautiful. Wow, not easy, everyone. If you're grade 9, make sure your marks is good. 4 years. And in Canada, we consider high school in grade 10. I think they can read this message differently, although it's a 4 years in US. And next, what's your advantage to bring you to Howard?
A good question. I think that my grades are very strong. Lots of people have very strong grades, but I think that the combination of the schedule that I took and the accomplishments that I had in the classroom certainly played a part. I think that my recommendations from teachers were strong. When you're applying to university, typically you won't get to read recommendations that teachers write for you. But based on the relationships that I was able to form with certain teachers who wrote my recommendations, I think that they were able to provide valuable insight into who I am inside and outside the classroom. So I think those were definitely important parts of my application, and also the activities that I did over the summer, scientific research and different academic activities, I think probably played into the decision.
Wow, that's a lot of things you've been doing in 4 years. And the one thing stand out is you have to build a very good relationship. So teacher give you a very strong reference letter recommendation, right? I mean, you have to be strong yourself. So high schoolers, make sure not only just doing all the great things, activities, you have to make sure someone as a teacher, your teacher can write a recommendation letter for you. So this is another important advice. And next one, how much do you pay for tuition and living expenses, etc. each year? Parents need to budget for that.
Yeah, so I'm extremely lucky to come from a background where my parents are able to pay for my education. You know, the cost of university in the US has increased steadily in recent years, and it's certainly more expensive in the United States than anywhere else. So you certainly pay for the quality of university that you get here. I think the full price of Harvard on a yearly basis now, if you're paying the full tuition, is around 75,000 USD per year. And that includes tuition and room and board. However, more than 50% or around 50% of Harvard's student body is on full financial aid, because Harvard is lucky enough to have the resources to be a fully need-blind school. So your ability to pay does not affect whether or not you'll be admitted into Harvard. And Harvard is one of the most generous financial aid schemes of any college in the United States. So I'm lucky enough to have not had to worry about financial aid, but Harvard is one of the best places for that if you're able to gain admission.
Beautiful. So you mentioned about the 50% of the Harvard students are able to get financial aid. Do they start to apply after they get to university or in high school for the financial aid?
So yeah, applying to financial aid happens at the same time as you're applying for admission, but they're handled by totally separate departments within the admissions committee. And the admissions committee reads your application and they make a decision about whether or not you'll be admitted. And then the financial aid office will make a decision about how much financial aid they can give you. So there are certain advantages when you're applying for financial aid of applying to the regular admission cycle over the early admission cycle, because you can compare different financial aid offerings from different universities. But yeah, it's certainly something to think about.
Great, thank you, Jack. And there's another one I think you mentioned at the beginning, Jack. What's your career and professional development goal? What's your New Year resolution? What's your most favorite holiday, New Year, lunar celebration tradition? Okay, I think generally, what's your New Year resolution is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. For career and professional development goals, I'm certainly figuring my direction out still. I have lots of time to think about my career, but one day I do want to serve in a public service capacity. So whether that's as an elected official or a civil servant serving in government, or perhaps working in different nonprofit or research organizations, I think that's a long-term goal of mine. When it comes to New Year's resolutions, as I said, sleeping more, exercising more, and spending more time with friends. I think I've met lots of amazing people in a short time here at Harvard. So just deepening those friendships is important to me, certainly. I'm not sure that I have a favorite New Year tradition specifically. Happy Chinese New Year, by the way, to anyone who's celebrating. And it's the year of the tiger, right? Sure, yes. It's a great year to come.
It's the year of the tiger. That's why I'm wearing colorful, and you're wearing red too. That's the traditional color for Chinese New Year. That's amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing you work for the government, and that time we'll be so proud of say, hey, I know that's Jack Silvers. All right. Oh, this is a good one. I mean, every question is good, but this one is, what are some ways you take care of your mental health as this workload is so heavy, right? How do you think a student can avoid stress from many assignments? And if there's a stress, what are some ways you would like to recommend to relieve the stress in a school?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something that you have to think about in high school and college, certainly. I think that each person can find activities that are stress relieving for them. I think it varies person to person. But for me, a great way to relieve stress was to spend time doing music. Playing the piano has always been a stress relieving activity for me. Here at school, that's a little bit more difficult. You know, there are music practice rooms, but it's not as accessible as it was when I was living at home. So I've looked for other outlets. Running is, I think, a great way to relieve stress. Exercise in general has been shown to have so many positive effects on mental health and overall well-being. But it can take time to find whatever activity, whether that be athletic, academic, reading, can relieve stress. And it's always good to talk to friends and trusted family members when stress is piling up.
Yeah, this is a great question. Mental health, it doesn't matter where you go, you know, what you're trying to work on, there's always stress. When you have lots of stress, that really can affect your mental health, and then it really slows down your achieving success. So there's one, which APs did you take?
Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, my high school didn't take a traditional approach to APs necessarily, but I ended up taking the AP Music Theory exam. When I was a freshman in high school, I was working on music theory outside of school, so I decided to take the exam as well. I took the AP Calculus BC test my senior year of high school, and then I also took the AP Spanish language test. So those are the exams I took. I was also in AP classes for AP Physics. I was in an AP English class, and I took a AP US History, but chose not to take the exams for those other classes. So AP classes are a great way to show academic excellence, certainly, but there are lots of other ways.
Is it the more the better, or there's a minimum?
I think it's best to take the highest level of class available to you. So usually, you know, in many schools that can lead to a lot of AP classes. But you want to be able to perform as well as you can in those classes. So if there comes a point where you're in too many challenging classes and it's affecting your grades in a negative way, then I think that's where you want to recalibrate, try to find the best balance possible.
Depends your own, you know, how much you can handle, right? Not so is it a minimum has to be 5 or 6 to be able to?
I wouldn't say there's a minimum at all, definitely. I think if you go to a high school that offers AP exams or AP classes, sorry, and your goal is to gain admission to a selective university, you definitely want to take advantage of those. I think it matters less about the number and more about the fact that you made an honest effort to take the highest level of class available to you.
As in Canada, because each school, you know, AP program runs slightly different, because US probably you can choose whatever, all kinds if you want to. But here, some school only offer 5, some school only offer 6, and some school try to apply outside of to other schools to take, you know, those APs, and that bring lots of stress because a lot of schools don't accommodate for other students coming to our school to write an AP exam. So it just makes sense, like if your school only offer 5, and then you only can have access to 5, or they have to struggle to go to other school to do as many as possible.
Yeah, I think it's very dependent on the high school that you go to. I think even if you go to a high school that doesn't offer lots of AP exams, as long as you take whatever level is the highest offered, I think that's the best that you can do. When you start applying to colleges, you'll hear a lot of times that you're compared to many applicants, definitely in the process. But something that admissions officers will do is compare you within your individual school cohort. Because if you go to a high school that simply doesn't have AP exams, simply doesn't have the opportunities that other high schools have, that's not your fault. The best thing that you can do is simply do the best in your own situation, perform at the highest level that you can, given your resources, and colleges will take that into account.
All right, I see 19 new messages. Let's go a little faster here. Did you ever get a scholarship? What scholarship did you get? or ought to recommend?
No, I didn't personally apply to any scholarships. Harvard doesn't give any merit scholarships. It's purely financial need based. I've met lots of people here at school who applied to scholarships like the Koch Scholarship, the Gates Scholarship, U.S. Presidential Scholarships. Those are all worthwhile. They take time to apply to, but they're great programs if that's something that interests you.
Thank you. Did you meet lots of interesting people, make lots of friends in university as you're too busy to so?
Yeah, I've met lots of amazing people. The people truly are the best part of Harvard. I've met lots of Canadian students here. There's a big Canadian presence on campus, big international student presence in general. So I've made some great friends. Yeah.
Great. So there's the one young man asked, Jack, what was your early life feel like? I guess when you were elementary.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a broad one, definitely. But I'll just say that I was extremely lucky to grow up in a family that prized education, giving me all the resources that I could possibly get to succeed. So I was exposed to music and reading at a very early age. And not to say that I didn't play and have fun with other kids, definitely I did. But my parents gave me lots of great opportunities to find what I was interested in at an early age. So I grew up enjoying school, and that continued as I went older.
Beautiful, happy early life. How many hours social volunteering work do you think a student should have? I don't think
it's a good question. Yeah, I think it's hard to pin a number of hours. I think that what's more important than the number of hours is kind of the effect that you're able to either quantify or qualify in some way. If you're able to say that you raised $5,000, $10,000 for this charity, or if you're able to say that you worked with 15 students to help them with their schoolwork who weren't able to access tutors before, or you were able to help 30 elderly individuals make it to vaccination sites. If you're able to show the effect of your work to colleges, I think that's much more important than saying that you spent 200 hours in the activity.
Beautiful. So next one is from our teacher Chen. If you want to connect with CNC Education Foundation and CNC Educenter, you see the WeChat ID is C and the C. One C stands for China, and the other C stands for Canada. So C and the C and hyphen the bottom, Educenter. So our website for sure is cnceducenter.ca. Next one is from Hanson. Hanson, Colin, they are very eager learners. They just love to learn. So what is the grade you need for permission to go to Harvard?
Yeah, and I'll just say quickly before I answer this question, I will have to run after this question.
All right.
But I just sent my email in the chat, so students can feel free to reach out with any questions that you didn't get to ask on this session. And I'll add the link to HSA Tutoring's website. I know there might have been some questions about our programs. So the website is the best place to go, or you can reach out directly to me. But to your question, sorry, Lucia, can you remind me?
Yeah, they're asking your grade to make you to Harvard.
Yeah, so Harvard doesn't necessarily have a minimum GPA or a minimum SAT score, any minimum number necessarily to gain admission, because Harvard has what's called a holistic admissions process. They look at numerous factors in the decision. But I'd say that a good guide is you can look on Harvard's website or different websites that have average SAT scores, average grade point averages of Harvard students. So that's not to say that if you score, a 1200 or 1300 out of 1600 on the SAT that you can't get into Harvard. It's just much more difficult than someone who has, a 1500 or 1550 out out of 1,600. It's the same thing with grades. And grades and SAT scores are something that lots and lots of applicants focus on. So it behooves you to try to improve those as much as you can. But I wouldn't fixate on any one specific number necessarily.
Well, I think we're doing a great job, Jack. We answered most of the important questions. There's a couple others interesting questions, but and thank you for giving students the email so they can have access to connect with you. And I want to tell everyone in this meeting right now a surprise draw back to WeChat group. 回到微信群，中加哈佛学长群，到那里会有 surprise 惊喜，一点小惊喜。Okay, Isabel, let's do the thank you part, and we're successfully done here.
Okay, so thank you, Jack, for sharing your very valuable experience and introducing the programs that Harvard Student Agencies has. And thank you, Ms. Liu, for planning and organizing, sponsoring this event of CNC Talks for us. And thank you for everyone attending this meeting, and please let us know if you have any questions or interests in Harvard's Students Agency programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. And I just want to thank Jack one more time for your, joining us today. And thank you for your valuable time. And thank you, Leah, for coordinating all this Ivy League program for CNC Educenter. Anyone who is interested to go to mentor club, to go to one-on-one tutoring, to want to get one-on-one college prep. So here we go. We have the bridge. We have the connection with the Harvard Student Agency, with Jack. Jack is your big brother. He will be, help you with any request or any thinking thoughts that any help you are asking for. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the evening, and make sure you go back to the WeChat group to have that surprise draw. Okay, see you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, Jack.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Isabel. You did an excellent job.
Thank you, Isabel.
Yeah.
Say hi to the whole parents, families. Miss Liu, Lucia, is that the surprise is already started? So joy.
Oh,
joy.
beautiful. Everyone, I'm gonna go back for the draw.
Love you. Good luck.
Good luck. So I will end everything here. I'll stop the okay. And what about this one?